Hello, everybody. My name is Aaron Knoll, and welcome back once again to another edition of the Movie Battleground. And in tonight's matchup, we have two competitors who are kind of sitting right now at the middle of the table, returning following tournament exits last year, who are hoping to start the year off on the right foot. We have Noah McCausland, who uh, put up an excellent effort against who would go on to become tournament finalist Joe Fairley, but unfortunately it was not meant to be in that matchup. He is going up against Alan Shepard, who took on probably the juggernaut of the tournament in Austin Howland, what is, because of time circumstances and a knockout, the quickest match that I think we've ever recorded. Here's hoping tonight's won't be that short, although I guess it would make my life easier in editing, but I don't like making my life easier. Instead, I like talking to competitors. So let's go ahead and bring him in. Coming in first with a record of 4 wins, 4 defeats, and 1 knockout, he is Noah McCausland. Noah, welcome back to the Battleground, sir. First time as a competitor this year.
Thank you.
How are you feeling coming into this?
Not great. You would think that coming
Honestly,
off of a close match with Joe and Amaru, that I'd come in feeling pretty good about myself. I don't. Alan, I haven't prepared at all. I think I started today. I think a hint that you should have gotten is when I asked about a scene an hour before this match. So I think that'll give you any indication of how this match is going to go. But I'm still going to try my best. I'm still here. I'm still here to have fun, but fun is winning. So I'm going to try to win.
That's fair. Nobody likes losing. That shit sucks. So, all right. So I'll ask you this without giving any of the questions away. Was there any of these questions that you felt comfortable tackling with the minimal prep? Is there anything that you can kind of?
I think the first two, and I think
that's a start. There you go.
It might be reflective for the judges. The first two might seem a little better for me, and then it's going to go downhill from there. So I don't expect much.
Well, listen, 2 points is the first step. There you go. From there, you just got to kind of hope and pray, right?
Yeah, and then it's the blind round, and then you know how I do in those. So
nobody preps for those, so it's fine. You'll be great.
Hey, the only one who can say the only one who can say they prep is Amaru. So for blind matches and blind rounds anyway.
That's fair. He probably does somehow. All right, man. We're going to go ahead and sit you in the back and bring in your opponent. Coming in with a record of 3 wins, 2 defeats, which he is just learning for the first time since he last played. Dr. Spaceman, Alan Shepard, joins us. All right, Alan, let's just ask the magical question. How much prep do you have coming in today?
I got that much. At least I know. You know, I know the movies that I the answers to the questions that I had. So I know those scenes. I know those movies pretty well. So a little bit of the research. And then I thought about it yesterday. So that's good. That's good. First of all, let me say right now, hey, Aaron, I'm glad to see you up and running. You look like you're feeling better. I know you've been down for a while, but I'm glad you're back up. You're the hardest working man out here, so I'm glad you keep on pushing through and you're feeling better. So this is good. And did I see that right? Did Noah just say he had a knockout? I ain't even got a knockout, so I got knocked out. So come on, man. Come on. You got a knockout? Feel proud of that, son. Come on, let's go into this.
This is the most pessimistic, positive match I've ever. This is a great way to start. Why are we even delaying this? Let's just
exactly.
These guys did about half a page of prep between them, but they are all vibes. So let's just do it. Movie Battleground is a game that is a best of 5 rounds. It is the first to 3 points wins the match. Each round of debate is worth 1 point. If a competitor picks up the first 3 points in a row, that will be a victory by knockout. If after 4 rounds it is a 2-2 tie, we do have a tiebreaker called the blind round. We'll deal with that if we need to. In terms of the questions, the competitors will have a 1-minute opening followed by a 2-minute chance to expand and explain their pitch. That will be followed by a 4-minute open discussion where they will trade blows back and forth and try and get some extra points in, which will be followed by their 60-second closing argument. Following that, we have 3 judges backstage in the form of Chad, Josh, and Jonathan. They will join us on screen, at which point, based off what the competitor said, they will make their deliberation on who gets the point. All right. With that said, guys, are we ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right. I'm going to put out a friendly reminder to all competitors here tonight that Jay Burns is in a title match and he has to double check his answers before he shows up to a match. So it's absolutely possible. And that's happened at least once, if not more. It's happened. So listen, it's all good, guys. Let's have some fun. Do you want to know what's not fun? Shitty films. Do you want to know who often doesn't make shitty films? Christopher Nolan. But if we have to paint one of them as a bad film, let's do it. The question is, what is Christopher Nolan's worst film? In a filmography filled with high-soaring blockbusters and Academy-nominated films, what is the worst thing that he is turned out? With that said, behind the scenes, Alan, you are the higher-ranked player, so you had a choice of which questions to go first on. You are going to be going first on questions 1 and 3. Noah, you will go first on 2 and 4. So I'm going to go ahead and pull in the timer. I'm going to wish you guys the best of luck. And we will go ahead and start. Alan, time starts when you begin speaking.
Good luck, Alan.
You too, brother. All right. So, yeah, you're right. Nolan is not known for making crappy films. Although I will say, I will show my hand a little bit. I'm not the biggest Christopher Nolan fan. I do absolutely love a few of his films. Absolutely. I think they're brilliant. I think he's an amazing filmmaker. And I'll always watch whatever he puts out just in case, because I think he has brilliant moments in even the bad films. But there's one film that I think had no good moments. They actually had unintentional, hilarious moments. And I watch only because those unintentional, hilarious moments. And I'll just say, maybe it's because of this guy. Oh, Batman. It is The Dark Knight Rises. I think is an atrocious film. Absolutely terrible, and definitely, of all his filmography, it is Christopher Nolan's worst film, and I'll concede my 10 seconds.
I will take that 10 seconds. I was reminded behind the scenes that Oppenheimer comes out, but to be honest, it's not even the most exciting film coming out on that day, guys. We're all going to Barbie, right? Like,
of course, obviously.
Yeah, which, by the way, if you didn't know that, Oppenheimer and Barbie released the same day. Talk about a double feature. Which one will get more Oscars? We will find out. Noah, over to you, sir. You got 1 minute on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Christopher Nolan is 52, I want to say. Quick look, 52 years old. He made his first theatrical movie when he was 28. And ever since then, it's been movies like, I don't know, Inception, Dunkirk, The Prestige, Batman, the Batman trilogy, Memento, which is amazing, Interstellar, Tenet, which gets a lot of flack, but is still a really good movie, even if it's a lesser quality Nolan movie. But there's one that no one really talks about, and there's a reason why no one really talks about it, and it's Insomnia. Oh, just kidding. No, that one was actually pretty decent. You know, that's one with actors that you know. It's The Following. It's The Following. See what I did there? Yeah. Go ahead, waste my time.
For a minute there, I was scared we were having the second instance of a competitor forgetting their answer, but thank you for that mini heart attack. All right, so it is The Dark Knight Rises versus Following. Again, for The Dark Knight Rises versus Following, we at least got that far. Let's go into the 2 minutes. Alan, you're back up. Time starts when you begin speaking.
The thing about Dark Knight Rises is it's coming hot off of, if not Christopher Nolan's best film, some argue the greatest comic book film in The Dark Knight. I mean, the thing was just acclaimed by both critics and audiences around the world. A really prestige, amazing film. So again, with a third in a trilogy and a film coming off of really such an amazing film, there was a lot of expectations. However, the expectations not only fell flat, were just obliterated. I mean, all the good that was done in The Dark Knight was undone with Dark Knight Rises, leaving just an absolute mess of a film, editing wise. The time frame is all messed up, and the climax of the film is dealing with a time crunch with this bomb, with the thing that's going on in Gotham. It didn't make any sense with any of the major characters that we all came to know and love. And it was just a mess of a film. And coming off such an amazing achievement in film, especially with characters that is really hard to do well with. I mean, Batman, there's been so many Batman films, and then so many good Batman stories, that coming in with something that should have been a slam dunk just ended up being a hot mess of a film, and taking really good storylines, Cataclysm and the No Man's Land from the comic book series. I mean, this is a no-brainer. He should have made a really excellent film with this, and just, again, tried to do too much, and it failed on all accounts. So I don't find anything good about The Dark Knight Rises at all. I mean, I can't even say costume design. I can't even say the fight sequences, because Nolan's not the best fight choreographer. He doesn't get the best fight choreographers. And this one was just abysmal, with clearly the misses all over the place, physically and with the storyline and the direction. A terrible film. I'll just 1 second.
And time. All right, Noah, back over to you, sir. 2 minutes when ready.
You're saying that everything done in The Dark Knight is undone in Dark Knight Rises, but it's not true, because everyone still loves Dark Knight, and that's you actually made a point for me that I wanted to say. It's coming off the heels of Dark Knight, which you mentioned is probably one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, if not one of the greatest movies of all time. So if you're looking at Dark Knight Rises as a competing thing for that, obviously it's going to fall short, but that still doesn't make it a bad movie. Dark Knight Rises shows the problems with keeping a lie that Commissioner Gordon, he tells this lie that Dent was a good man, he was killed by Batman. It shows that problem with keeping that lie, even if it's for good. It shows the inherent corrupt nature of it. And you're saying that Nolan doesn't know how to film action. That's incredibly false, because in that cave sequence, that tunnel sequence, it's my favorite fight sequence of all three Batman movies, because it shows the brutality and the power of Bane, who said is just like a caricature. You're saying he's silly in this movie, but he's intimidating, he's brutal, he's quick, and he's a brawler. And seeing him tear apart Batman is just brutal and terrifying. And the way he's framing it is genius, because Tom Hardy is way shorter than Christian Bale, and the way he frames it makes Bane seem like he's just towering over Batman, and it's amazing. This movie it proves that he can direct these big budget movies, but still focus down on some of these small action pieces. It's exhilarating. It's not just flashy, and it's not just show off. He clearly mastered this grand scale. And Batman Begins was a much-needed revival of the Batman's Fallen film career. The Dark Knight was a groundbreaking film, and Dark Knight Rises is just an exceptional film, but it didn't change the landscape. That's why people don't look at it as fondly as Dark Knight, but it's still a great movie.
And time. All right, we're going to go into the 4-minute open discussion. The timer will start when the first competitor speaks.
I'm gonna take this time to start talking about the following. It's unrefined Nolan. There's a reason why it's his first film. It's like this student debut film. It's got a lot of good potential there that you see later in his movies, like Memento, like The Prestige, like Tenet, and even the Dark Knight series. But there's still a lot of problems with it. It's very short. It's a little bit interesting, but it's mostly boring.
What Nolan is really good at. What he lacks at is action directing and action scenes. He really is amazing at building tension, and Following is all about that tension. It's an intriguing story. You don't know what's going to happen from scene to scene, where it's really going, where the story is going, and that makes it really interesting. And Nolan's really good at framing and keeping a moment and building tension with very little. And The Prestige shows that. Interstellar shows that. There's a lot of his films where that's really evident. I think that's evident in Following. It's not evident in Dark Knight Rises, because all the tension and everything that he built up so well in Dark Knight, there's none of that in Rises at all. I mean, you know what's going to happen to every single character, and that scene that you talked about with the action scene, the fight scene, ADR and sound effects save that scene. You can actually see and tell that Bane nowhere near towers Bruce Wayne or Batman in those scenes. his lack of height and his lack of being broad is shown throughout the whole film,
But that's the
and he's not
genius
really
of it, though.
intimidating except for in the one scene in the stock market. That's the only scene he's ever intimidating, and the rest of the film he's actually laughable. I mean, the first time you hear that voice, that ADR voice, is just hysterical, and there's no way that's intimidating. In Following, you get a lot of good intrigue and a lot of interest in the characters because you don't know what's going to happen. Rises, you know what's going to happen from the second Talia shows up. Oh, gee, I wonder who this lady's going to be. Oh, yeah, it's going to connect back to Ra's al Ghul. If you know anything about Batman, you know what's going to happen.
Just because you know what's going to happen doesn't make it uninteresting to watch. The way that it unfolds, the story itself unfolds, is interesting to watch. You have this broken Batman. You have this Bruce Wayne who needs Batman, but the city who no longer needs Batman. And watching Bruce Wayne evolve as a character to a point where he's given up on life in the beginning, but he
becomes
when he goes
Jedi.
into that cell, he has to learn to fear death. He has to learn to fear losing his life because he can't get back to city. That's why he's able to get out of that cell. That's why he's able to get out.
With a scene that we should have been following through those moments of him learning that. Instead, we get a crippling effect that's supposed to happen to him. He recovers from in mere days, and probably even less than that. And we don't get to see that transformation of him learning anything. It doesn't look like he's going to die. He doesn't feel like he's going to die. He's not even really stuck in a thing that's happening. He sees a screen, a TV screen that just, this happens to be here, and the one guy that can speak English just happens to be there and explain what's going on in Gotham, and he's supposed to get motivated from this after the city exactly doesn't need him more and threw him away. He doesn't get motivated from it, and he's just okay. He's gonna get healed. He's gonna magically get out of this no-win situation that we all know is gonna happen. And then he gets back to Gotham. How does he get back? We have no idea. He just shows up and he's there. Nobody can get into the city, but he can because he's Bruce Wayne, exactly, because he's Batman. There's no intrigue. There's no knowing he's not gonna win because we all just know he is anyway.
That journey from the cell to Gotham is an interesting part of the story. What we need to get back to is the whole Bane situation, him dealing with Ra's al Ghul's daughter and all of that.
Which we don't get an idea for that.
All right. So you guys each have 1 minute left on the round to make your cases. Alan, you are back up first, so the timer will start for you when you begin speaking.
Rises doesn't have any intrigue to it at all. That's why it makes it Nolan's least interesting film. And he's such a master at that. He's just a master storyteller. That's the thing about Nolan. He's a master storyteller, and there is no story in Rises. All the goodwill that came from what would have happened with the Harvey Dent and his turn into Two-Face never gets addressed again, except for Gordon, who barely talks about it. And then all of a sudden, everything goes wrong. But why is it going wrong? And why is really Batman to blame? I mean, nobody really seems to care or worry about it. There's much more intrigue in Anne Hathaway's Catwoman, because we get to see the social conflict and the actual difference between the rich and the poor. But even that isn't really explored. It's also just done away with this ridiculous no man's land plot that just comes out of nowhere. There's no intrigue in the movie. Following has a lot of intrigue, and it's very, very interesting, and in the mindset of a criminal and what is morality. And Rises doesn't do that.
Time. All right, and then Noah, final minute of the round when ready.
Again, Following is just unrefined Nolan. It has potential, but it's not really there. It doesn't develop the fully edgy, similar paranoid triangle that his efforts are realized in later movies. It's clumsily edited and somewhat forced in its nonlinear structure. The characters are not given any details. They're dull and one-dimensional. In Memento, the plot kind of covered for it, and the characters had their motivations. But here, there's just no one to support the plot. You're saying it's interesting, but it drags severely in the middle, and it's like a 67-minute movie probably. Dark Knight Rises, you have a full arc from the beginning of Batman Begins to the end of this movie, but you also have a mini arc with Batman from the beginning of Dark Knight Rises to the end of it. You see this broken Batman, this broken Bruce Wayne who he needs Batman, but the city doesn't need Batman anymore. And you see how he transforms to that. And it's a great movie with great action sequences that are framed perfectly by Christopher Nolan. And Bane's a great villain.
And time. All right. Solid first round there, guys. Good stuff. Good stuff. Applaud yourself in the back. Unfortunately, only one of you wins. So I guess we'll find that one out as I'll go ahead and pull our judges in. So in terms of fact checks for any major things, Christopher Nolan is 52 years old. Good job there. The cast of Following is basically a bunch of nobodies. Four of the first five credited actors do have Wikipedia pages, but they're basically all about the fact that they were in Following. There's not much else on their filmographies. Also, despite the fact that I believe both competitors at different times addressed the film as The Following, the movie is just called Following. If you Google The Following, you find a television show by Kevin Williamson starring Kevin Bacon that lasted 3 seasons and, according to reviews, was mediocre as hell. Never seen it, so I can't actually judge it. I was just reading what reviews said. So with that, Chad, I'm going to go to you first. Who gets your vote? And as concise as you can get it for me, what was the main point that sold you?
Yeah, so this was really interesting because, both competitors mostly talked about Batman. I mean, it's Batman, so that makes a lot of sense. Alan did what he did against me when I tried to argue Peter Jackson's King Kong, and he just really went hard on Dark Knight Rises because, he really doesn't like that movie. And, I thought he did a great job there. The only thing is no one really talked about The Following that much. Alan said it has a lot of great thriller stuff, which Nolan is strong in. But then Noah really got there for me at the end in his closing when he talked about how Following is not really even that well formed of a movie. It feels like Nolan not really there as a filmmaker yet, and it shows a little bit of stuff that we'll see later, fully formed, and then.
Okay. All right. So the first vote goes to Noah. Josh, I'm going to move down to you. First off, anytime we have a new judge on the panel, I always like to say, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here, man. So over to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
There we go. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are good.
Yep. All right, cool. I would have to say Alan definitely showed me a bit more. And I think really when I look back or think back to the Dark Knight Rises, there was a lot of logic problems that happened towards the end. Especially how do you come back from a spinal injury so quickly and you start climbing walls and now you're back to fighting again. He was very stiff in his movements, the action sequence. I like the.
All right, so we are tied there. Jonathan, over to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
I'm actually going to go with Alan on this for Dark Knight Rises because I think for me he put some more fundamental problems with Dark Knight Rises than I hear for Noah's for Following. Though Noah keeps saying it's more experimental along with it, but I didn't hear some more recurring problems with it, like Alan's idea with Dark Knight Rises. So I want to give my point to Alan.
Okay. All right. Judges, thank you guys. I'm going to go ahead and sit you in the back, and we will go ahead and move on to question number 2 here.
Good job.
And for question number 2, we are going to be moving from one blockbuster, because that round is basically about Batman, to another blockbuster. And the question here is, what is the most underrated entry in the MonsterVerse? Now, for those of you who may be tuning into your first time here, whether at home or at the show, actually, the MonsterVerse in the context of Movie Battleground, to explain to people, obviously in the modern day, MonsterVerse is Kong and Godzilla crossed over as a franchise. For Movie Battleground's sake, this is more so information I'm sharing for you at home if you were not aware, because it doesn't actually affect tonight's match. But theoretically, they could pick the history of these franchises if they wanted to. That said, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. Noah, you are up first. So the timer will come up for you, and it'll start when you begin speaking.
I hate to do this, but when we're talking about underrated movies or rated movies, or properly rated movies, overrated, you have to bring in the actual ratings themselves. And the first thing I'm going to go to is Rotten Tomatoes because it's on. Let's be real, it's the easiest. Just comparing these two, I can't because you haven't said your answer yet, but I'm going to say my answer. Mine has a 76% Rotten Tomatoes for the critic and 66 for the audience. And I picked Godzilla, the 2014 version. Thank you. I feel like this is the closest that this newer trilogy has been to cinema and art. And there are some scenes in this alone that give me goosebumps every time I think of them. It's a gorgeous movie. And I think it deserves to be rated higher. It's middle tier, and it should be ranked higher.
And time. All right, Alan, over to you. Opening minute.
The only reason we're here in the MonsterVerse is because of me. Let's be real. I am the Godzilla fiend. Everything Godzilla. I eat, breathe, sleep. I love it. My third word as a child was Godzilla. That ain't a lie. That's fact checked. Let's go. I love me some Godzilla. So I went with, again, you got to go Rotten Tomatoes. Hey, Noah, we all got to go Rotten Tomatoes. That's what we do. Come on, it's easy, it's quick. And of all of them, the worst critics rating, the most underrated, or as far as rated lowest, is Godzilla King of the Monsters, the sequel to the 2014 Godzilla. And it has a 42% from the critics' score. So it's pretty low there. But I think it's fantastic. And the reasons I will give in my next 2 minutes why I think it should be rated a bit higher on that scale. And I will keep talking until I'm down to a second. There it is.
You found the perfect pace of speaking to just run that out. That was actually really nice. All right, so we have Godzilla versus Godzilla King of the Monsters. Nobody going with the 98 classic, I see, but that's okay. Roland Emmerich can just celebrate his recent box office successes. Never mind. Noah, back over to you. You have 2 minutes on the clock when ready.
King of the Monsters is properly rated. Honestly, that 42% is generous. This is a shit movie. It's not an interesting film. It uses a shit MacGuffin. It wastes Charles Dance as a one-note villain. Vera Farmiga's villain twist is like not even that shocking or surprising. It's just ridiculous. It attempts to pack in so much bang, you forget why the fighting started in the first place. How does a movie that came out 5 years later than my movie have CGI that looks worse? Like that Godiro shot when he first breaks out and he's lasering everything. It looks awful. There's lazy, shitty screenwriting. And if you're happy to sit through scene after scene of utter nonsense to get the next sequence with giant CGI creatures biting each other, then Godzilla, the King of Monsters may be for you, Alan, but it's not for me. Godzilla is where it's at. Godzilla has actual balls to kill Bryan Cranston off in the movie. It creates suspense and mystery into learning new facts about the kaiju. There's a reason why we don't really see Godzilla too much in the movie, and I think it's a great reason. It builds suspense for Godzilla, so when we finally get those sequences, when we finally get to those shots, it's mind-blowing, it's gorgeous, and the way that the CGI is, the way that the lighting and the colors, it just makes the screen pop no matter what screen you're watching it on. The first shot of Godzilla is just breathtaking. The skydiving scene in this movie is exhilarating, and it looks amazing with this red coming off as these guys are going down. Gareth Edwards constructs his film well, which harkens back to the fun sci-fi monster movies of the 1950s. He uses their formulas of build up, slight reveal, build up, big finale, and I loved it. This is a fantastic movie that deserves to be higher.
And time. All right, we're going to go back over to you, Alan. 2 minutes on the clock.
You want balls? You want balls? They killed Ken Watanabe. Come on now. Oh my goodness. A character they made you love. the only character that I loved in the first Godzilla in that 2014. And then they kill him, and he sacrifices himself a dramatic way. It was brilliant. It's beautiful. It's awesome. The thing that is amazing about King of the Monsters is the design of these creatures. These creatures that, if you're like me, you grew up loving King Ghidorah, you grew up loving Rodan, you grew up loving Mothra, and you get to see them reimagined, and the greatest designs of these characters ever. Rodan, the whole Rodan sequence is absolutely spectacular, breathtaking, and beautiful in its destruction, its carnage, and its kick-ass. Just Rodan taking down aircraft, and just the menace, the terror. It's absolutely incredible and beautiful. And they bring about the hints of music. Everything worked together to make that sequence just absolutely perfect. And the first fight between Godzilla and King Ghidorah in the snow, in the ice, is absolutely spectacular. Every time they show King Ghidorah, it's beautiful, and it shows him as the god, the fearsome god monster that he is. The plot, of course, a little bit crazy, a little bit ridiculous, but nobody came to see this movie for the plot or really even the human characters. They came to see all the monsters they grew to love on this film or in the screen. The 2014 Godzilla, we came to see Godzilla. We came to see terror. We came to see threaten. And we didn't see that because we saw bits and bits of him until the end, and he's fighting some monsters we don't even know, these stupid mutos that actually look ridiculous and not even close to anything threatening, and we see them for a few seconds. The only great scene in the movie is when he opens up the mouth and breathes the atomic fire down it. That's a spectacular moment, but the rest of it is just boring, and we can see Alan Taylor Johnson look bored and not afraid of anything. They killed off Bryan Cranston, the greatest actor, too soon.
And time. All right. We're going into the 4-minute open discussion round. The timer will start back up when the first competitor speaks.
Oh, I'm gonna give you a fact check. I'm gonna give you a fact check real quick. You talk about that scene where he destroys the Honolulu airport and he destroys Waikiki. Bruh, it's right over there. I can point to it from here. There ain't no tram system. There ain't no train at our airport. Come on now, get out of here. And they used one street in Waikiki. We all wanted to see Waikiki get destroyed, and they used one street and they filmed. Oh, come on, ridiculous. I'm sorry. The movie was so boring. They wanted to make Godzilla threatening, terrifying, as the original Gojira, the original Godzilla film was, this allegory for nuclear war and Holocaust, and they made this just amazingly boring, pathetic. There's no threat, and they made Godzilla the good guy at the end of the movie. This is the thing. He's built up to be this threat. You're building up, not showing him because he's a threat, and then he's the good guy at the end, and they applaud for him after he caused all this destruction. That's a mixed metaphor. Terrible, horrendous, no-go. In King of the Monsters, you know exactly what you're getting with Godzilla. You know exactly what you're getting with the monsters, and they deliver on all accounts with the whole thing.
But they don't. They absolutely don't. You know what you're going in for, but they take it all away for you. You say you love the fight between Ghidorah and Godzilla in that snow. You don't even fucking see it. They like start running at each other, and it cuts to the fucking humans in the plane. Like, fuck you. You're not seeing this action piece because we're gonna show you the whole drama that you don't even care.
That was
about.
The whole thing with the Godzilla 2014. They didn't show you anything.
And
the first fight between Godzilla and the Muto, they cut to her watching it on TV, and then it's gone.
And that's the difference between your movie and my movie. Is my movie uses that to build suspense for Godzilla, for when you actually get to see those pieces.
But he's supposed to be a threat.
He is.
But he's not. He's the hero at the end of the movie.
He's using the Jaws effect by barely showing Godzilla throughout the entire movie.
And Jaws was a threat the whole movie. And Godzilla wasn't
throughout the movie, and you see this.
He wasn't threatening to Alan Taylor Johnson. They were trying to get bombs. They weren't trying to get Godzilla. They were trying to get bombs. They weren't trying to do nothing. And he looked bored the whole time. And he would tell me there's a moment where he's sitting there and Godzilla's a threat, but he's right in his face and he just goes, "Sup?" And then that's it. I mean, come on, man. He looked very scared. He didn't look like he was trying to get back to Wanda. I'm sorry, whatever the character's name was. But it was just insane. Godzilla King of the Monsters delivered, and everybody act like they don't like that because that's what they wanted to see.
You say you're so excited to see this movie because all the kaiju that you grew up But you
Yes!
don't even see most of them. They hint at like all this kaiju that, oh, like look at these guys like coming out of volcanoes, and oh, look at this guy like coming from the earth. You don't even see them for the rest of the fucking movie. You see like maybe Mothra do some shit, and this other
where they
like,
destroy all of Boston and they
For,
all
like, a
fight,
second.
and then Godzilla
For a
becomes
second.
radioactive after Mothra sacrifices herself. Come on, bro, you get to see the whole thing. It's beautiful.
You barely see any other fights in this movie, and that's the difference.
Oh.
Mine. You barely see any Godzilla for a reason, because it builds that tension. This is the first of this trilogy, whatever you want to call it. It builds that tension, and you finally see good Godzilla. And you're right.
They
That shot of
overcorrected
Godzilla pulling that mouth
because
open and lasering it. No matter how
Yeah,
old you are, it's
great
gonna make you giddy.
moment
It's gonna make you
that
giddy.
lasted 4 seconds. Great moment that lasted 4 seconds, and then they made a whole other movie because that was the moment everybody loved. So they said, you know what? We better overcorrect this by adding all these amazing kaiju that everybody wants to see, and we want to see more of Godzilla. And it's an amazing design of Godzilla. Not my personal favorite, that's Shin Godzilla, but it's still a great design, so we want to see him. We want to see him, and we want to see him be a threat. Okay, if he's not a threat, he's gonna be the hero. He's gonna be the ultimate hero, and let's bring a bigger threat in King Ghidorah. And the design of him is absolutely stunning, amazing, the best King Ghidorah we've ever seen. And the same with Rodan. Rodan was spectacular, and these monsters delivered.
And time. All right, so we're gonna go into the closing minute of the round. The timer will start. Timer will start back up. Noah, you were first, so when you speak.
Godzilla was treated as a threat in the beginning because humans don't know what's going on. What do especially Americans do? The first thing they don't understand something, they treat it as a threat. They think, oh, we have to try to destroy this. That's exactly what they did in this movie. I think it's perfectly well done. Godzilla King of the Monsters was relatively successful in terms of money because of the success of this first movie of Godzilla. King of the Monsters is just an epitome example of bombastic spectacle, unable to overtake terrible storytelling. It's strangely ineffectual. There's no physicality to the fighting. The MacGuffin is horrible. This whole time, these humans are chasing this it's a orca thing, and you don't even care about that. You want to get back to seeing the monsters fight, but you don't see any of that. They cut away every single time. With my movie, it actually makes sense. You're building that tension, you're building that suspension. Plus, it's a piece of art. You see all the beautiful shots, and it's gorgeous.
And time. All right, and then Alan, final minute of the round when ready.
In the 2014 Godzilla, you see beautiful shots of Aaron Taylor Johnson not giving a crap about what movie he's in. There's no connection between him and Wanda, and the humans just look bored. They don't look like they want to be there. And I'm sorry, Ken Watanabe, I love you, bruh, but we gotta treat it like a threat. We gotta do everything we can to stop Godzilla. What's the most famous line from that movie? Let them fight. Oh my God, are you serious? I laughed out loud when I heard that, and that was the moment I turned off that film. I wasn't going to get a Godzilla movie that I wanted, that true Godzilla fans wanted. But with King of the Monsters, I got that movie. They had to overcorrect from that 2014 and give us what we wanted. And we got that. It was delivered upon. It's still a 42% on critics review because maybe the critics didn't want that, but the fans, the audiences did. And we got that. We got all the great kaiju action. We got a ridiculous story that harkens back to those original Godzilla films. And it was well delivered, beautiful to watch. And me and my son watch that movie all the time.
And time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put you guys in the back. Obviously, a lot to clean through there, a lot of discussion about the quality of the film in comparison to how it may be underrated. But I do have some cleanups, fact checks. So with Rotten Tomatoes, Godzilla 2014 carries a 76% approval rating. And as always, I like to remind people that big number is just an approval rating based on how many critics gave it a positive review. It is not an actual score. The score out of 10 is a 6.7 average based on reviews submitted. Audience scores give it a 66% approval with a 3.6 out of 5 average score. For Godzilla King of the Monsters, it has a 42% approval rating with an average score of 5.1 out of 10. And for audiences, it has an 83% approval rating with an average score of 4.2 out of 5. Also, for what it's worth in terms of where these two films fall on Godzilla rankings, using Rotten Tomatoes, they formulated a rankings list which is different. It's not just a list that simply ranks the films based on their Rotten Tomatoes score. It also takes into account the individual scores that critics gave and the number of reviews that were submitted, because obviously some of the older films may not have as many reviews as the modern films. Within this list, Godzilla King of the Monsters is ranked 14th within the franchise. Godzilla 2014 is ranked 3rd in the franchise. Filling in some of the facts that were there, though the film did shoot on location in Honolulu, Hawaii, including shooting scenes on Waikiki Beach, the airport that was shot at in the film was actually the Vancouver Convention Center. A lot of the film, including the entirety of scenes that take place in San Francisco, Tokyo, and the Philippines, were shot in Vancouver in real locations, not on sound stages, but areas of Vancouver were dressed up to look like, as close as they could, where they were supposed to be in the film. So that is why it may not look like your actual airport, because despite the fact that they did shoot in Hawaii, they did not shoot in the airport. The leading names of the characters from Godzilla 2014, since nobody elected to use them: Aaron Taylor Johnson portrays U.S. Navy Lieutenant Ford Brody, Ken Watanabe portrays Dr. Ishiro Serizawa, and Elizabeth Olsen portrays L Brody, excuse me. And then finally, in Godzilla King of the Monsters, the aforementioned MacGuffin they are searching for is the Orca, a device that can emit frequencies to attract or alter Titan behavior. With all that said, though, based on what the competitor said in the argument, Josh, I go to you first. As concise as you can get it for me, who gets your vote and what was the main selling point?
I thought you were going to unmute me. I forgot I muted myself. I have to go with Noah. I love Godzilla 2014. Love it. That opening shot is a painting that I need to put on my wall somewhere, somehow. It's amazing. I love the buildup of how the tension was. It's like, well, you tease, you think you're going to see the fight and you don't see it. Then you think you're going to see it again, you don't see it. And the final fight was brilliant. King of the Monsters just did not do it for me. I just wasn't a fan of it. Just wasn't a fan of it. I think that Noah did defend it better. His points were, they hit more for me, as far as like harkening back to those 1950s monster movies, and all the shots in it were phenomenal, and the fact that you could see the difference in direction from Gareth Edwards to, I believe, Michael Dougherty. You could just tell somebody else took over this movie, and it did not, was not handled as well as it could have been. So my vote goes to Noah.
Okay. Jonathan, down to you. Who gets your vote and what was the main selling point?
Very good arguments for Alan and Noah, and both put up a concise arguments that why their respective films basically have more underrated than the other. And I think for me, the person who really got me more clearer than why is more underrated and more nuttiness for me, which is Noah, because he put something during the argument very unconventional. I was a little concerned that he might take him out, but he really put it elaborate what he said. And he said it with a couple of words: the gutsiness. The gutsiness of basically killing off your. Arguably, people thought the first half of the movie, Bryan Cranston, the lead in the movie, and basically it said more of a gutsiness enough to do it, and pour more of a bold move, more a Joss effect to it, along with it. Which.
All right, judges, thank you guys so much. I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back, and we will move on to question number 3. All right, guys. So it is 1-1. We're going to go ahead and move on to question number 3. And with this question, we are going into a viewer-submitted question. In fact, both of the remaining 2 questions in this match were viewer-submitted questions. Normally, I don't pick 2 per match, but one of these was just too good and too in theme that I had to pick it. And that is because coming out this weekend is the long-awaited sequel in the Rocky franchise, Creed 3. Actor Michael B. Jordan adds director to his name as the week this releases, not the week this records.
Oh, I was like, wait a minute.
In your face immediately.
I got so excited. I was like, I'm going to go see that.
Well, from what I heard, it's getting better reviews than Ant-Man already, so we'll go ahead. No, so Michael B. Jordan adds director to his resume as he steps into the director's chair for the first time and takes over the film. And I just referenced Ant-Man. Jonathan Majors graces our screens as a villain for the second time in 3 weeks. Again, a few people have already seen the film. The word that I've heard on it is very good. And this question was brought to us by Madi Raymond, and this one has been sitting in the document for months because he gave it to me for Creed 3's original date, like 4 months ago, but it got moved. So now we finally ask it, and the question is, in honor of Creed 3, what is the best training montage in a film outside of the Rocky and Creed franchise? Because obviously this franchise is known for its training montages, be it the classic original, be it the Eye of the Tiger, be the ones from the Creed films, which I think were actually both excellent, especially the one in that second one where they go away to that like deserty location. That was a really great scene. But outside of this franchise, what is some of the best in training montage in film history? And we have two, let's just say they couldn't be further from each other, in that I don't think one of these could legally go near who's in the other. You'll get what that means in a second, but we're going to go ahead and jump into this. Alan, you are back up first, and the timer will start for you when you begin speaking.
All right, you know me, I always want to go with unconventional. And one of my favorite films growing up, this movie, I just love it, start to finish. There is no flaws in this movie. I mean, the critic in me goes, oh, this movie got all kinds of flaws, but I absolutely love this. It has one of the most classic lines of all time. Wolfman's got nards. It's one of the greatest things ever. It's the most unexpected thing. It's brilliant. It's incredible. And I love it. And I think the best training montage in a movie outside the Rocky franchise is the Monster Squad. Okay, this training montage has everything you want with these characters you've grown to love, and it's absolutely brilliant, including Frankenstein's monster holding a picture that was taken accidentally and makes one of our league heroes do a spit take, which, I mean, come on, man. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I love it. It's brilliant. It's great. It's flawless. Flawless victory, Monster Squad.
And time. All right, Noah, back over to you. 1 minute on the clock.
Training montages, I don't think they can be bad. I feel like they have to add to the movie. They do what they have to. They're a medium. They're a tool to be used in a movie. But I think one movie does it better than most, and that's Team America World Police, just because of its satirical and parody nature of the that's a completely different word. Don't even mock me. Just because of the parody of the montage scene itself. I think it's genius. I think it's very smart while also being absolutely hilarious, like the rest of this movie is. And I just can't wait to get into more about it. So I'll consider the rest of my time.
And that is time. And now my opening comment makes far more sense because the people behind Team America World Police probably shouldn't be allowed in your kids. That's just a fact.
So the Monster Squad montage fits perfectly with the movie. It fits perfectly with what we've been learning about throughout the film. We've learned that there's these monsters, and we learned that these kids are the only ones that can deal with them. And in the montage, we see how they're going to deal with them. You know, we're making stakes because we got to fight Dracula. We're making silver bullets because we got to fight a werewolf. We're making cards for our new club, the Monster Squad, because people got to know we got to represent and go out there and kill these monsters because nobody else is going to deal with it. Okay, the tagline from the movie is, you know who you're going to call when you got ghosts, but who you going to call when you got monsters? The Monster Squad. There it is right there. Boom. So this montage perfectly sums up what's going to happen and how they're kind of training, working together as a team, making these things, making these devices, and then all of a sudden, whoops, while we were taking pictures of things, kind of doing our, espionage thing, oops, we caught a glimpse of somebody. We shouldn't have caught this glimpse. And then hilarity ensues with you've got the Frankenstein's monster hanging out with the little girl, playing dress up, and then now he's got this photo. Everybody's trying to get it, and there's a little bit of levity and fun before they're gonna go fight all the bad guy monsters and take them out. It's a perfect montage. World Police, brilliant film, absolutely brilliant film. But the montage really is making fun of montages. So it really doesn't. And the film is making fun of films like that, making fun of everything, which is great and brilliant. But as far as adding to the story of it, it doesn't really add to the story. Just, hey, another thing we can make fun of in a brilliant way, because it is brilliant. But this one kind of fits. This is why you have a montage, not just because, but just because this is a way to give a summation of all the training, all the learning, all the things we got to do to make it a nice, concise package that has fun with it and learn what we got to learn to go do what we got to do.
And time. All right, Noah, over to you. Time starts when you begin speaking.
What does Team America World Police teach us about montages throughout this like almost 2-minute sequence of this montage is that it's a tool to show a compressed thing of time. If you don't have a lot of time, to show the development of a character when you're lazy. And that's exactly kind of what Monster Squad does a little bit. It's fun. All right. It's fun. It's cute. But that's the entirety of what it does for Monster Squad. It shows, oh, like cool, they're making steaks. Oh, they're making silver bullets. Oh, they're hanging out with Frankenstein, like a Frankenstein's monster. That's all it really does. It doesn't really do much. But the genius of Team America World Police is that it uses this sequence to add even more parody to the film. On its base, the visuals are great for the training sequences and shows the basic things that are shown in cliched montages. Martial arts training, lifting weights, the running, the weapons training, and even the shaving scene, which I think is hilarious. And it just elevates even more when the music is played on top of it because it's a dude singing about why montages are used. It's self-aware and it kind of cracks the fourth wall a little bit, if not breaking it. It's unparalleled because it's parodying the cliche brilliantly, but also uses this montage well for the movie itself because you see what's going on. You see all these world leaders getting invited to Kim Jong-un's little peace party. So it still fits inside the movie itself, right? Because it's showing the actual guy get ready, but it's doing it in such a self-aware parody satire nature. It just elevates it to a new level. It's hilarious. I didn't stop laughing for the entire sequence. I watched it multiple times. There's nothing really else to add about Monster Squad sequence, just that it's cute. It does what it needs and it gets out. You know, there's not really much else to say about it. I'm gonna make it awkward for you, Aaron. That's what I'm gonna do. I make it awkward for Aaron.
Fine by me, nothing better than a few seconds of dead air, right? All right, we're going to go ahead and go into the 4-minute open discussion. As always, the timer will start back when the first competitor speaks.
You are correct in that the montage.
You said I was right. So
I said you were right. We're done. Close it out. We concede the rest of our 4 minutes. It is hilarious. It's wonderful, but it is not really integral to the story that you're following because the whole thing is a parody. It's making fun of this. It does it brilliantly, but it doesn't really add much to what's going on in the proceedings. Monster Squad's montage is only 2 minutes and it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's not like the Rocky IV montages, the 8 of them, but it's only 2 minutes and it tells you, okay, this is what we're going to do. And it does what World Police says it does. It's showing you, taking you through that we don't have a lot of time for. So it's taking you through this in the most concise, nice way. That's fun. Doesn't take anything away, but only adds to the story and adds to the events that are about to happen. And it shows that these kids have finally learned something throughout the proceedings that were before it in the movie with dealing with all these monsters. They're doing research, they're finding these things out, and then boom, now they get to go have their epic battle at the end. It does everything it's supposed to do, and it's integral to that story, to the film itself. And World Police is just a nice parody.
It doesn't really do anything else, though. But like
that's everything you need it to do.
This is kind of integral to the story too, because you have to have this guy who gets in this tip-top shape to go into this assault, this battle at the end. But it's self-aware.
And he has to shave.
Exactly. I think that's hilarious because why do you see every montage some guy shaving as he's getting ready and becoming more fit? It's making fun of that. So it's integral to the story, like I said, because you're seeing all these world people, but you're also seeing him train and get stronger so he can go do this. But it's self-aware, being like, hey, this is integral story, but it's lazy screenwriting. But we're gonna make it funny because this whole movie is supposed to be a parody. And real quick, I just want to get in some rankings. I looked up best training montages in films.
Yep.
Off the two websites that I looked at, Collider and The Ringer, not once is your movie mentioned. When movies
Of course not.
First Class, Incredibles.
Because I said I go unconventional, baby.
Cool Runnings is even on here. But both of these websites, The Ringer and Collider, Team America World Police is on there. So
because all those people that made those rankings too young, they never seen Monster Squad, they don't know. They some millennials don't know nothing about nothing, and I like to go unconventional. And this was when I first read this question, I thought it was a brilliant question, by the way. So good job, Madi. But yeah, exactly. I said, this was the first thing I thought of. The absolute first thing. I went, oh my God, Monster Squad, because everybody forgets that one, and it's so great, and it's a nice little boom. Here's what it is. Integral to the story. Making fun of it. It even has fun with that. It has this really ridiculous song, "Party Till You Drop," dance until your feet fall off.
It's such a bop,
I mean, come on.
It's a fun song.
Yeah, it's a great song. It's a silly song, and it kind of adds to the theme of what this movie is. Really, it's kind of a parody in and of itself, except for the fact that these monsters are dangerous. I mean, Dracula is awesome, and the Wolfman is terrifying in this movie. So it's kind of throwing this threat when the mummy's in the closet, the kid's going, "There's a mummy in the closet," and the dad's going, "Ooh, yeah," and it's disgusting mummies in the closet. It's brilliant. But anyway, the montage is perfect.
Part of the training.
That's not part of the training sequence. You're exactly right. Not part of the training sequence.
Don't get fooled.
Oh, don't get fooled by the mummy. But mummy in the closet. But it's brilliant. So I think the World Police is a great thing, but it's just parody. It's what it is. It's a parody thing, and he's training to get stronger. He's a puppet. That's even more layer of parody that really this doesn't matter. We're just doing this because it's funny.
And time. All right, we got 1 minute left on the round, guys. Time starts. Why do I keep doing that? One person speaks. Now you're done with that. All right, Alan, you're up first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
I'm just gonna leave it at with Monster Squad. This montage does everything you want it to do, you need it to do. It perfectly gives what's happening with these characters, and it does it with. We don't have a lot of time to see all this training that these kids would do in this. If this was a real scenario and there's really monsters, and all these kids would probably just freak out, run home, and cry. But they're training. They're the ones that got to save the day, and they're gonna do it. They've learned all this stuff. Let's see them. Put all this to work to build to this epic battle, this epic tension of this battle in a fun, concise way to do it. World Police is all parody all the time. It's a brilliant parody of montages. It really is, but it's not integral to that story. And this montage is very integral to the story in us rooting for these kids and us going on the journey with these kids to root for them so they can save the world from the monsters. There's a letter written. Dear Army, monsters are here. Come on, help us out. And they do. Yay. So it all pays off in the end. Boom.
And time. All right. Noah, back over to you. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Well, in terms of training sequences, there's not a whole lot training going on in your montage. They're making bullets and they're making stakes, but they're not training. They're not practicing staking techniques or anything like that. But Team America, like you're saying, it's not integral to the story, but just because it's a parody, it is, because he still has to get into shape. He still has to get better with his skills to go in and fight King Jong-un and go raid him. Don't get me started on that shit because I think it's funny. But it elevates training montages to a whole nother level with the parody, with the self-awareness. And you're right, Monster Squad, it does what it needs to do. It has that montage. They're not really training too much, but it has a montage. And that's it. It's fun. It's cute, but it doesn't really add anything else. But Team America World Police adds on the extra level of comedy and satire and parody, and it makes it better.
And time. All right. Going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back. We will go ahead and bring our judges in here. So the only major thing to fact check in terms of what was brought up in the round was when I Googled, after it was brought up, best training montages in film, Noah did do his research by clicking on the first two searches that come up for Collider and The Ringer. Good job. And he was correct in both of those are there. So I just decided to go to the next ones that showed up. So after looking through Men's Health, Filmmaking Lifestyle, MovieWeb.com, and North Texas Daily, I have found some other interesting examples of training montages aside from the average, Rocky, Karate Kid, all the classics. Some interesting choices on these lists includes Dirty Dancing, which I honestly forgot had a montage. Kung Fu Panda, in which a fat panda motivates himself through food. Twilight Eclipse, which, Chad, you've seen those movies. Is there a training montage in that movie? Okay, well,
I don't remember. I've seen them once.
It's last on the list. Move On, which comes with a Broadway-style song for all of you to sing along to. And my personal favorite of the odd ones listed on here is Kevin Bacon randomly dancing and doing gymnastics in what looks like a construction yard in Footloose. I don't know what he was training for. I mean, it's a town that can't dance. He can't be that much worse than them. But
the talent's band dancing, not the town can't dance, though. Basically,
yeah, but if you're not actively dancing, you're probably not. Also, there's not a lot of non-white people in that film, so let's just assume they don't have rhythm. Like, I'm just going to choose to assume.
Sure.
Except for Miles Teller in the remake. He has some decent rhythm. But other than that, let's go ahead and jump into this. Jonathan, as concise as you can get it for me, who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
Argument's sake, I gotta have to go slightly to Noah with Team America. I think he pointed out the ideas of the more scene by scene with his montage than Alan did with Monster Squad. So I will give my point to Noah.
Okay. First vote goes to Noah. Chad, down to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
Yeah, well, first I would have to agree with Peck there. That was hilarious when Alan can make Noah laugh during his last minute. I just thought that was incredible. I love the passion coming from Alan about Monster Squad because that is a pretty dope movie. I'm a millennial who has seen it and do enjoy it. I am also going to go with Noah here, though. The reason being is because he actually kind of got me thinking there at the last bit a little bit with like, wait, is it technically training if they're just kind of like preparing? But in the guy's actually doing training stuff. So, for a little bit of a technicality there, if it was just that, then it would have been like closer. But like for me, I still really just dug his kind of unconventional, like, no, this is a parody of montages. It's poking fun at the entire idea of montages. And I think even just that a little bit kind of made Alan's feel a little more silly too, because he was like, montages are kind of dumb, to be honest. And, this is the perfect montage to show why they're so dumb. Even though, Alan did a great job too. I still wouldn't know it this time.
All right, so the point does go to Noah. Josh, unfortunately, we won't get to hear your thoughts, but I do want to give you credit because you said How to Train Your Dragon in the private chat, and that was the best answer we heard tonight. So other than that, I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back, and we will go ahead and move into the fourth question here.
It even has a Rocky shout out in that song. It's great.
Okay. Well, I would say there's going to be a lot less laughing in this round, but truthfully, I don't know where this is going to go at this point.
Might not be.
We're going to move on to the fourth question of this match, which, as I said earlier, was also a viewer-submitted question. Now, for the viewer who submitted this is not exactly what you sent in, but I did make a choice to reword it just to clarify a debate point a little bit more. I thought it was an interesting idea for a question, but I just wanted to clarify it a bit more so we kind of had an idea of what they were going after in the debate. So as submitted to us by Zach Shelton, and again, slightly adjusted, but a great idea for a question, it is, what negatively reviewed film sequel was undeserving of the bad reviews? Now, obviously, there's a lot of ways that we're going to define bad reviews, but to give a baseline for an answer, I chose to define that as a 50% or less on Rotten Tomatoes. That means, again, using the fact that Rotten Tomatoes is an aggregate consensus, half of the critics or more did not like the film. Again, we're not using Rotten Tomatoes as the complete crux of the argument, but it's a baseline to start when picking answers. So with that said, Noah, you are back up first on this one, so I'll go ahead and turn the timer over to you. It'll start when you begin speaking.
I don't think you would believe me if I said, name a movie, a Disney movie, that has a 44% on Rotten Tomatoes. And that's the end of a trilogy. Well, we're not going to count the other two movies that were made because those don't exist. But it's a great finale to this trilogy of movies, and that movie is Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. This movie is at a 44% on Rotten Tomatoes critic consensus. And I think that is absolute bonkers and ridiculous with the amount of effort and cinematography and artwork that's poured into this movie. I don't think it should be at an 80. I don't, but it doesn't deserve to be at a 44% Rotten Tomato. So I'll just consider the rest of my time.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and fill those 5 seconds before we turn it over to Alan. Timer starts back up when you begin speaking.
Unconventional, baby. You know where I'm going. Unconventional as hell. Everybody trashes this movie. Critics, audiences, everybody. It's in the 40s of both the Rotten Tomatoes critics and the audience. And I never understood why this movie got the reviews that it did. I think it's actually, and I'm going to get my butt kicked, but I don't care because I got love. I got love. This is my favorite Alien film. No joke. This is the one. Alien 3, Alien Cubed, whatever you want to call it. I think it is absolutely amazing. I think it's fantastic. It takes us to what I love about monster films and Alien films. I love the first Alien movie. It's a great movie. The sequel, Aliens, is a fun action movie, but I want that tension. I want that horror, and Alien 3 brought it back. I never understood the bad reviews of this movie. I think it does everything it set out to do, and it's absolutely great.
And time. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into the 2-minute segment. The timer starts for you, Noah, when you begin speaking.
Where do you go after the first two Alien movies, right? In the first one, it's a good isolation film, this horror creature film. And the second, you go in and you're trying to kill it only to have it turn back and try to kill you too. The third tries to blend both aspects of the first two together, only it misses out on the best of both of those films, and it just ends up with the worst parts. David Fincher shows a lot of promise for better things to come in the Alien franchise, which doesn't deliver. But World's End sets a clear end to the trilogies and finishes on a high note that still feels realistic to the plot. You don't get that too happy ending with Will, and I can't remember what her name is. He is stuck on that ship. He has to stay with that ship. It doesn't give you this lovey-dovey happy ending. It's realistic, but World's End is amazing. You have the fight sequences alone in this movie should raise it up to at least a 55, if not a 60, just based on action sequences alone. The fight between Davy Jones and Jack Sparrow is absolutely breathtaking with the shot work, with the CGI, with the sword play, with Hans fucking Zimmer. That score is so recognizable today. But Alien 3 is hated for a reason. There's a reason why it has a 40% for both audience, it's in the 40s for both audiences and critics, and why Pirates has a 47 but has a 72 audience rating. But Alien 3 is just a fascinating, frustrating mess of a movie where you spend just as much time trying to figure out what's happening on screen as you trying to figure out why you're trying to figure it out, So it's just it tries to pitch it being a Home Alone-esque movie there at the end, but it really doesn't work out.
And time. All right, Alan, back over to you. 2 minutes on the clock.
Talk about frustrating and throwing so much, and I didn't understand what was going on. That's at World's End in a nutshell. They tried to capitalize on what was good about the first two films and just throw more, 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 more. It becomes so confusing. I have no idea who I'm supposed to root for. They take Davy Jones, which was an amazing character, brought in the second film, and then they waste him to a few scenes really in the third one, and then replace him with the most boring character with Orlando Bloom. He's the new Davy Jones, and it's supposed to be all tragic and heartbreaking and blah. No, it's boring. And that what worked, Jack Sparrow was really cool as a fun side character in the first two films. Let's just shove him in everything and overload it with Jack Sparrow in the third one, including making an inside joke with having Keith Richards as the Pirate King, because that's who Johnny Depp based this guy. We don't care about all that. We want an interesting story about these characters, and we don't get it because it's an overblown mess. We're bringing back characters who supposedly died and all this crazy. It's just too much. It's madness. Alien 3 takes it all down to what was really overloaded in the second Aliens film, which is a great film, but let's get back to basic. Let's get this back to a story about Ripley, a story about feeling really terror and confinement, in confinement in a way that you can't understand that confinement unless you're shown that. And the way Fincher directs this film, everything's dark, bleak, and enclosed. And we find out that Ripley has an alien inside her. That's the most confined, just pressure the whole time. And they have no weapons. They have to deal with this monster, this threat, the only way they know how. And that's with this prison environment around them. And let's not forget, Charles Dunn, the greatest, my man Rock, he's incredible and underutilized in every other film because he's not in them. He should be more of them. He should be in this one. He was great. I love it. Alien 3, fantastic. I'm just running out of time, so I'm just saying stuff.
And time.
And I wanted to laugh.
All right, we're going to go into the 4-minute open discussion. The timer starts when the first competitor speaks.
I jumped in the first time, so I'm gonna let you go ahead, Noah, this time.
Okay. You say that they waste Davy Jones as a character. I really disagree with that because you get this emotional backstory with him and Calypso, and it's heartbreaking. It really is. But you're also still terrified with him. It's kind of heartbreaking. It's sad that he was in love with this woman and it's ruined now. But Bill Nighy works so well as Davy Jones, and you see all the mocap work, and it's great. And he's still a kind of a terrifying character, but he's toned down a little bit because he's still this lapdog of the British, whatever they are, in Indian trade, whatever thing it is. You say
but they waste him.
You say it tries to put Jack Sparrow in for the entire movie, but the entire first third of this movie, Jack Sparrow's nowhere. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Then they have to go rescue him, and then they have to rescue him twice. They spend so much time rescuing him because he's an idiot, and you're spending so much time with him. I mean, yeah, it was kind of neat in the way he's in this trippy world, and they got to go find him, and it's all. But then it just becomes this. Why is this interesting? Why am I spending this much time with Jack Sparrow and all this madness when he's the least competent character, and he was supposed to be? That's the character we were supposed to enjoy as the least competent one. In the first one, he's a side character and he's fun and interesting, but the audiences responded to that, so said, okay, let's just hammer him more. This is what the audience want, and they take away the story. Why are there 3 of these damn movies? I mean, there's actually 8 of them, but now, I mean, this third one, we didn't need it. We didn't need this story. We did not need it at all.
We did,
and it was just kind of. It was totally finished. The only reason it wasn't finished because they said, "Oh, we can make a third one. We can keep this franchise alive," and they didn't even know the success of the first one was be so great. So that was just a happy accident. Okay, let's make some more with these movies. And this one was just a cash grab all around because they weren't telling an interesting story at all because they're throwing out more of what people liked. Oh, they like this, except for they love Davy Jones. Well, let's hold him back and let's make him weakened. Oh, he's just a tool. He's just a pawn of this. He doesn't have any real agency and isn't really terrifying anymore because he's just a pawn of these British white guys who cares? I just didn't find the threat.
It is more terrifying because when he finally breaks free
more threatened.
of the chains, basically, he is scary. That scene where he uses his tentacles and delves into the guy's eyeballs and nostrils is quite disgusting.
It's great. It's quite creepy and disgusting. It's great. And it's that much of the film. And the love story you like so much between him and Calypso is that much. Where we get this whole thing about what's her name and old boy. And you didn't even remember the girl's name because that's how useless it was. It doesn't make any sense because we're only focused on Jack Sparrow and only focused on what he's doing and the whole whirlpool at the end. And it's what is happening there with that battle sequence in the water. Talk about special effects that don't add up. They don't add up. I mean, they don't hold up. They don't hold up. It's a hot mess. It looks like CGI stuff. It's almost prequel level bad, but we won't talk about those movies because they don't exist technically. Alien 3 does everything it's supposed to do, and it does not get deserved of what it got. I mean, people were so mad because two of the characters they loved in Aliens are killed in the third one, which I think is a brilliant way to subvert expectations. Oh, you're expecting this? Boom, here we go. We're going to take that away from you. And we're going to keep you in this bleak thing because that's the film. That's the film's message. That's what the film was trying to do. Keep you bleak, keep you contained, and make you feel terror, which the idea of an alien is supposed to make you afraid. It's supposed to make you scared and wonder how I'm going to get out of this.
All right, we're going to go into the closing minute of the round. Noah, you are up first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
You're trying to point out that being in a contained environment is supposed to make this scarier, when in fact it doesn't. This film is just it's a slogfest. It's boring with all this interplay with her and this other like guy who's there, and they like have sex a bunch of times, and it's just it wastes a bunch of time, and it's not containing, and it should kick into high gear, and it should inspire terror in you, but it doesn't. It's just not scary at all. It's not what audiences want, because you can tell that in both the scores. It's below 50 for a reason. It's because it's garbage. Having Ripley be pregnant is a movie decision. It's a movie decision. It's not a great decision. It's a cop-out, and it's really stupid, and having her have that sacrifice is really dumb. They added more Jack Sparrow because he's a likable character. Yeah, he may be dumb, but that whimsical nature, that craziness and wildness is something that audiences like seeing and watching. I'm not saying this is an 80, but it definitely doesn't deserve to be a 47%.
And time. All right, Alan, over to you.
I think it's 40. Yeah, perfect for At World's End, and what it's overbloated. It's a mess. It's trying to do too much. It's showing you, okay, you like this. Okay, we'll just give you more of that. Alien 3 takes those expectations that you had, and they go, no, we're taking that away from you. We want you to feel terror. We want you to feel something that you did not expect. And I think that's the mark of a good sequel. If I just want to see more of the same, I'll watch the first two movies. I don't need to watch another one. But Alien 3 really takes those expectations, subverts them into something different, and just as interesting. And we've got David Fincher, who's an amazing director. Talk about building tension, talk about building claustrophobia, and in a world that is foreign to a lot of people. We're on this alien planet, and it's using sci-fi in a way that's pretty interesting as well. This alien planet that has this prison. That's the only people left are in this prison. What are they going to do? You've got Ripley confined and even more, and then this one alien that's different from the rest we've seen coming to get everybody.
And time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back. We will bring our judges in as we will go to the deliberation here. So to run some fact checks here, Pirates of the Caribbean At World's End has a 44% critic approval rating with an average score of 5.4 out of 10. It has a 72% audience approval rating with an average score of 3.8 out of 5. Where is it here? Alien 3 has a 48% approval rating for critics with an average score of 5.5 out of 10 and a 46% approval rating for audiences with an average score of 3.2 out of 10. The character played by Keira Knightley in a leading role in 3 of the films is Elizabeth Swann, later Elizabeth Turner, when she technically marries Will Turner before he sails off to a never-ending hell. what was the next one? So the composer, this is more just a fun fact than I guess a fact check. The composer for the third film, At World's End, was Hans Zimmer, but contrary to a lot of people's opinions, the classic piece of music that we all know from the film, that dun, 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 that was actually not composed by Hans Zimmer. Zimmer has composed at least two, I believe three of the sequels to the franchise, but he did not compose the first one. That was instead a composer protege of his, Klaus Badelt, took over composing the first film, as Zimmer himself was busy composing The Last Samurai. So while Zimmer did do the music to the sequels, that one piece of music that everybody knows and remembers was not actually done by Hans Zimmer. And that is the last of that. So, Chad, I will go up to you first. As concise as you can hit it for me, who gets your vote and what was the main selling point?
I never thought this would happen because I don't like Alien 3 like at all, but Alan sold me on this one. Reason being is because he really sold me on the fact that At World's End is the crazy mess that I remember it being. And, I just love a lot of the things that he said. He gave very good specific examples of why the movie wastes so much time. It's bloated and overstuffed. And then he said they spend so much time rescuing Jack Sparrow because he's an idiot, which I thought was a really good line there. And that kind of sums up how it wastes so much time.
Okay. Josh, down to you. Who gets your vote?
Actually, I went opposite of Chad. I went Noah. Going back down memory lane of At World's End, I always enjoyed it. I know it has its problems. I know it has its flaws. But I do enjoy that last sequence and that battle sequence between Davy Jones and Jack Sparrow. And I think Noah made a really good point of hey, listen, like I said, it's not the most well directed, but I think there is a lot of fun to be had in that movie, and I really enjoyed everything that he had said on it. So I give my point to Noah.
All right, which means, Jonathan, we go to you for the tie break. As concise as you can hit it for me, who gets your vote and what was the main selling point of the argument?
Because he pointed out the way for World's End, it basically closes off a sort of way that brings together sort of where the end of that first the trilogy of Pirates of the Caribbean and brings more of the scale, world building, and basically sort of the stakes along with it. So for Alien 3, Alan started out somewhat very good, and Benji pointed out with Newt's death was a good counter, but I didn't hear enough besides that, besides the self-containment part. I didn't hear enough out of Alan's point that for more enough on Alien 3, though. So I will give my point to Noah.
All right, judges, thank you guys so much. I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back because winner by a final score of 3-1, Noah McLovin McCausland. Where's that pessimism now? You pulled out the victory. Listen, for two guys who purportedly brought very minimal prep between the two of you, that was an excellent fight. I think you guys both did a great job. I think you guys had a lot of good arguments. Certainly the passion came out, which may have played into the questions. I think that really helps. So I'll start with it. You pull out the win here. What are your thoughts on it?
I don't know how. I swore he had me in a couple of those questions. I feel like he really nailed me in that last one too. I was believing him that aliens shouldn't, or Alien 3, I keep calling it aliens, Alien 3 shouldn't be that low. But I'm happy I pulled out the win. I just had fun. With it. You look at that round 3 and we were both having fun. He's a great competitor and he always brings the passion. So it was a great match.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an excellent match. And so obviously the Battleground table in terms of rankings is always ever changing because we're always recording new matches and stats are going in. But I will give you this, because of the 50-50 nature of how your matches have sort of gone. You've always been sort of mid-table, at least for the moment, as of this match. Based on results in other matches that have sort of helped you go this way, with your win tonight, you officially sit in the number 10. Now, when we put up the next rankings update, that may not reflect what I'm saying right now, just because, again, more matches will be recorded. It may drop 1 or 2 slots. But with this win, you have sort of bumped yourself up a little bit. Another win in your next match could do some good for you. So how are you sort of feeling with that thought in your head? Because obviously last year, those last 2 losses that you took were against Joe Fairley and Amaru Moses, both of whom are former champion, current champion, top contending players. So I think your run of matches as of recent, even with the losses, has been a clear sign of growth and improvement. How are you feeling with where you're at right now?
I like where I'm at. I don't like my performance like this match, even though we had fun with it. I prepared last second, and I mean, life gets in the way, you know, but I definitely want to be better about it because this is something I do like doing. I like debating, and I like it even more when I'm prepared. Win or lose, as long as I feel like I'm prepared and I do my best, like that's what makes me feel the best, you know. So as long as I get ready for that next one, I'll be ready to go.
Absolutely. Well, until then, sir, we will see you. Best of luck in that match, whatever it may be, as I go ahead and sit you in the back and I bring in your opponent. And obviously, losing sucks. Nobody likes to lose, but this is a loss I don't think you can feel bad about. We had a great time. It was fun. And certainly, I mean, it was mostly split decisions the entire time, even the one that wasn't on screen. We found out after the fact that the other judge would have gone the other way. So how are you feeling about that tonight?
I'm feeling good. I had a lot of fun, and one thing I love about Noah is he has fun too, man. He loves this, the fun of it, the passion of it, and I love him because of that. Because he's always just ready to have a good time, and we're never taking any of this stuff personally. We're just having fun. It's just opinions, and it's a great time and a lot of fun. He had great arguments for all of his, even though we vastly differ on opinions about some of these questions and some of these topics. But again, at the end of the day, we all love this stuff, and we love each other's opinions as well. And it's just, it's always fun, man. What can I say? I don't take this as a loss ever. I really don't. I'm always back for more. The preparing, sometimes, I'll prepare more, sometimes I'll prepare less. But it's always just hey, you know what? I know about these things. I know about these questions in particular. I really liked the ingenuity of some of the questions, particularly that third one. We had the montage one. That was so much fun to talk about that because I think this viewer, questions that are coming in. These are from people that have been involved with this franchise for a long, long time. I think it just adds to it. It can do nothing but add to it and add to the enjoyment overall of all this. So cool.
People who don't write batches of 30 questions at once for all these different matches will certainly have a fresher. No, it's true. They'll have a fresher mind at it than I will. My job is to systematically make this as easy as possible for me. People who submit questions' job is to be as creative as humanly possible. And so that is a great one. So we'll throw this stat at you before we let you go tonight, Alan. You're 3-3 right now. You don't have a knockout on your record, but something you do have that's particularly interesting is all 3 of your victories have come in the blind round. All 3 of your wins have been, you have a 100% record when going to the blind round. Why do you want to avoid it so bad? Why don't you want to go to it?
I should, given that record, I should want to go for the blind round. I should be rooting for it. But as you know better than anybody, going to that blind round is, that means we're tacking on another hour. Even though it's shorter time frames, we're tacking on another, 50 minutes almost to these things. But I shouldn't, hate the blind round as much as I do because I fare pretty well in it. But I always like a clean, hey, he got the judges went for him, or the judges went for me. It is what it is. I should like the blind round more, but I still fear it.
Hey, might as well fear something you can defeat, right? I mean, that's not
right.
All right, man. Well, it's great to have you. I look forward to the next time. Till then, take care of yourself, guys. As we close out another excellent night in the Battleground, Noah McCausland walks out with a win to start the season, and Alan Shepard leaves with a smile. We can't ask much more than that. I want to say thank you to my judges who were here tonight. Jonathan, Josh, and Chad, thank you guys for being here with us. Thank you once again to the competitors, Noah and Al. Congratulations to Noah. Thank you to all of you guys for watching at home. Please be sure to rate the video, drop a comment, subscribe, and interact with the channel as we have multiple matches every single week in the Movie Battleground coming out for you guys to watch as we continue to build up to some of the bigger matches coming out in the near future. In a couple of weeks, back to back, we are going to have our latest title match between Amaru Moses and Jay Burns. And then the week following that, we're going to have our next number one contenders match between Henry Sanchez and Austin Howell, both of which are going to be very loud matches at the very least, but they will also be entertaining matches. So stick with us, watch the stuff till then. Until next time, guys, my name is Aaron Knoll. We will see you on the Movie Battleground. Take care.